This is Ms. Wiles, and in this video we'll be looking at writing a quadratic function when you know its zeros. Now, zeros are also known as solutions and roots. So you'll be given some information like write a quadratic formula in standard form. We want our quadratic formulas in standard form. And that means that we want it to look like this: ax squared plus bx plus c, where a, b, and c are some other numbers. And then we might want our leading coefficient to be equal to 1, which means that we want a to equal 1. Now in this video, a is always going to come out to equal 1, so it's okay. But in the future, if you were ever doing this and a was not equal to 1, you would just divide every term by whatever a is. So let's look at a couple of examples of how to do this. If you are given two solutions for a quadratic function, and by the way, with quadratic functions, you can only have two solutions. Even if the solution is exactly the same, you still have like two solutions. So if your solutions are, let's say, 1 and 3, then from those solutions you can write your factors. And your factors are x minus 1 and x minus 3. Now that is not your quadratic function in standard form. That is your quadratic function in factored form. To get it into standard form, let's make a little note there. This is factored. And to get the quadratic equation into standard form, you need to actually do the binomial multiplication. Now, there are several different methods to do that. So I'm going to show you a couple. So here we go. So we'll go to another screen just so we have more room. You can do it in your notes wherever you want to. If our factors are x minus 1 and x minus 3, we can use what's called FOIL. With FOIL, you multiply the first two terms of each of the binomials. Now, you have to know that this is the first, the x is the first, and this x is the first. So it would be x times x. That gives us x squared. O stands for outer, and when you look at these factors, now this x is an outer and this negative 3 is an outer. So x times negative 3 gives us negative 3x. You may notice that I didn't put the negative 3x right under the x squared because they're not like terms. I stands for inner. Inner is this negative 1 and this x. So it'd be negative 1 times x, which would be negative 1x. Notice I put it under the negative 3x because they are like terms. And then L stands for last. The last is the negative 1 that's in this binomial and the negative 3 that is in this binomial. So that turns into negative 1 times negative 3, which is positive 3. And notice I put it even further out because it's not like any of the other terms. Then you combine all these and you have x squared minus 4x plus 3. And this is your quadratic equation in standard form, or you could call it a function if you want to use f of x. This is my least favorite method because it only works for binomials, but it is what it is, and you hear of it so often that it's worth putting up there. The next method is called the box method. And let's say you have two binomials that you're multiplying, and we're going to make a grid, and we're going to multiply based on that grid. It's also called the area method because I'm really finding the area of the square that would be made if I multiplied x minus 1 times x minus 3. And so I basically look at my little boxes here to see what two terms I would have to multiply to put inside that box. So we have x times x for the first box, and that'll be x squared. Then we have negative 1 times x for the second box on that same row, and that'll be negative 1x. For the second row, we have x times negative 3 for negative 3x. And for the last box, we have negative 1 times negative 3, which is positive 3. Now, you may have seen this done without the positives in there, but I think it's important to put that positive 3 there. Then you're certain that you've done exactly what you wanted to do. If you use this method, the two terms that are diagonal from each other will always, and I mean always, be like terms. So they will be combined in the end to come up with your answer, which of course is the same as the last one. And that will be x squared, let me get to black and white, minus 4x and plus 3. And that could be a y equals or an f of x equals, but you're going to get the same answer no matter what method you use, as long as you do each method properly. This method I like because it's going to work no matter what, whether you have two binomials or two trinomials or all kinds of terms inside the parentheses. The last method I also like because it's going to work too. We'll use the same two binomials, x minus 1 times x minus 3. And with this method, I'm going to split the first binomial up into x and minus 1. The second binomial, I'm going to leave it just like it is, x minus 3 and x minus 3. It's kind of the box method for people who like to think outside of the box and do the same kind of work outside the box. So we use the distributive property here, and for the first one we have x squared minus 3x. We use the distributive property here, and we have negative 1x and plus 3. Notice they're the same things that we have inside the box on the box method, but still keeping them lined up so that the center terms are always the same, and then we combine everything for x squared minus 4x plus 3. And f of x or y equals. Okay, let's do another example using this method. And for this example, our solutions are negative 4 and 7. If our solutions are negative 4 and 7, pause the video here and write what you think your factors would be. You should have written x plus 4 and x minus 7. Now pause the video and write what you think you should multiply to use this method. I want you to pause the video and write this part for this problem. You should have written x times x minus 7 and 4. You can even write the positive 4 times x minus 7. You would distribute this, x squared minus 7x, distribute this one, 4x. You can even put the plus there. It helps you be very precise about what you're going to do next. And then positive 4 times negative 7 is minus 28. Combining all this, you have x squared minus 3x minus 28. If you're using this method, you have to be very careful about how you set the distribution up. If you're using the box, you immediately write the two binomials that you have or whatever you're multiplying, and then you're done with that and you do your multiplication. You can even put a plus there if you like, and then you combine them all and you get the same answer. So this video is really an introduction to that. All of the solutions, the only solutions that we've gone over are the integer solutions. If you had fractions, you'd have to pull your solutions in other ways. So I'll give you an intro to that. It's not going to be something that you're going to do right now, but if your solutions were 2/3 and 4/7 or negative 4/7, If you're going to pull your factors from that, your first factor would be 3x minus 2. Your second factor would be 7x minus 4, or plus 4. And then you would go from there, doing the same way. But that's for another video, for another day. We're going to close this out here, and that's all I have to say about that.